Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the February 15th meeting of the Daytona Beach City Commission. We're happy to have each of you with us tonight. Madam Clerk, may we please have a roll call?
Commissioner Strickland?
Here.
Commissioner May? Commissioner Cantu?
Here.
Commissioner Henry?
Present.
Commissioner Reed?
Here.
Commissioner Paris?
Here.
Mayor Derek L. Henry?
Present.
Commissioner May did send in an email requesting that she be excused from tonight's meeting. So you have
Motion to excuse Commissioner May.
Second.
We have a motion. Commissioner Reed will take a second from Commissioner Paris. Do we have any questions or comments? All right. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0. Now I have the invocation, which will be led by Commissioner Henry, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Commissioner Strickland. Please rise for the invocation and Pledge of Allegiance.
This is the day that the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for this day. Thank you for this opportunity once again to gather. Thank you for life, health, strength, and thank you for safety and shelter. We ask and pray that you continue to bless each and every one of us, bless all of our constituents, and bless everyone here and far in the United States. We ask and pray, Heavenly Father, that you will guide us, lead us, that we will make good choices and good decisions. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen.
We'll now move on to item number 4, which is approval of the minutes of the January 18th, 2023 City Commission meeting and the February 1st City Commission Shade meeting.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Reed and a second from Commissioner Cantu. No questions or comments? All right, all those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0. We'll now move on to our agenda review. If there are any changes, our city manager will address them.
Yes, Honorable Mayor, Commissioners, we're asking to pull item 8C, City Attorney's Office, Alice Clark versus City of Daytona Beach. We're adding item 8Q, which is Public Works Department, a commercial lease agreement with the River to Sea Transportation Planning Organization, TPO.
And actually, I'm sorry, that was an error. I think it's 8A is the Alice Clark.
The first
versus
item.
the city, the first item on the agenda.
Yes,
Okay.
8A. Also, just real quick, under the consent agenda, Commissioner Strickland would like to discuss items relative to the First Step Shelter Board. And 8M, Commissioner Paris would like for David Waller to discuss what is involved in the playground resurfacing at Henry Lee and Suburbia Park. So those two items during the consent agenda will have Commissioner Strickland wants to speak, and Commissioner Paris wanted Mr. Waller to make a statement on that consent item.
Okay.
Do we move on it prior to the speaking?
Pardon?
Do we move prior to, okay, so moved.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. We'll let the citizens speak first in case they say something that you want to address.
Okay.
Okay.
But this vote is just for the approving the agenda with changes.
Yeah, okay. So we have a motion and a second on the agenda. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0. Okay.
Okay.
Now we'll hear from the.
Okay, so we have no presentations tonight, so we're going to move on to item number 7. And during this time, citizens have the opportunity to address any item on the consent agenda. I have one speaker for the consent agenda, Mr. Thomas Russell, speaking on item 8G.
All right, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to address the commissioners, city manager, and the mayor. I'm concerned about the spending of the money, how it's kind of been it's there, so we're going to split it up and see what we can do about it. Specifically, the COVID funds that I read about this morning. It's nice to have a windfall. I'm first to agree, but there's so many places in the city that specifically can and should be getting some help. All right? I know the commissioner's going to get some, mayor's going to get some, city manager's going to get some, but is that the proper way of spending the money? That's my question to everybody. I think there are some places that are more needy than others. All right, so that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Okay. And my next speaker is John Nicholson. He gave me those.
John Nicholson, 413 North Grandview Avenue. I wanted to speak on several items, but I'm just going to do one, and that's the municipal stadium. We're going to put a lot of money into it. There was talk about building a new one. The people that rented the municipal stadium a couple of years ago talked about needing a new stadium. The question is, Derek had mentioned that we have 600 acres out there. Would be more than enough for a new stadium. I think it would be appropriate at the City of Daytona Beach to have bowl games, like not the Super Bowl, but there are bowl games, Gator Bowl, Orange Bowl, Citrus Bowl, et cetera, et cetera. No city has the reputation that we have. We have plenty of hotel rooms available when those bowl games are happening. So to me, it would be logical to go into sports tourism. We have plenty of land. We have plenty of ability to do so. That stadium has a problem getting in, getting out, the parking. It may never be appropriate for large events. So I'm thinking 5, 10, 20 years down the line, because at this point, we are not at 71,000 people. I'm guessing we're close to 78, 80,000 people. In 10 years, we may be at 100,000. We're ready for a large stadium, and a stadium that can accommodate huge crowds getting in and out and making money for our hotels and our city. Thank you.
Kathy, can you grab that? Mr. Brown, is this for a consent item? Yes. Okay. So our next speaker is Ms. Frederick Brown.
I like that.
What's that?
It's not a new speedy.
It was.
Frederick Brown, 1508 Crescent Ridge, Daytona Beach.
Before you begin, Mr.
Yes.
Brown, 8A was pulled from the meeting tonight.
Oh, okay, yeah, there was a couple others. Hang on a second. But I wanted to add to that.
Okay, that's okay. You can just go ahead.
Apologize. Okay, that was the bulk of what I wanted to talk about, which had to do with the fact that I want to congratulate the city on doing things in the proper manner rather than the way it was handled at Bridgeport Heights. Oh, geez, I apologize. Again, we have several litigation issues again, and I know the same story. We talk about the 25% fee charged to attorneys and stuff, but yet we do not have the expenses. And this is where the majority of the misleading fees disappear. Again, I'm very familiar with how it's done. I've used the services of attorneys many times. My wife used to work for one, so I know how it's done. Again, I still wish I could see itemized statements in all these litigations. I do approve of your appointments in the Peabody Auditorium. I thank the to get a little bit out of sequence here.
8F.
For the Peabody, I commend our city management team for the fine work that they've done with rescuing that, and I know there's a lot of committed people there. So, I do have a question about 8H, and I have read the contract. It does seem, and it's a great thing. It's for the Humane Society. It just seems the fees are a little bit exorbitant. I know you have to, you know, they count on it as a cash cow, is the colloquial term, to help support that. But is this something that we are going to pay, or is that a not to exceed? It wasn't clear to me in how it was stated. Does anybody have an answer on that? Up to, okay.
Based on what we think.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the boarding fees and all that, some of the fees that I see are pretty, you know, they're high. And I understand they have a business to run there, and they are strong supporters for the city, especially the police department has to deal with these issues. But I do find that those fees, I just wanted to confirm that we aren't writing just a blank check for unused services. So thank you for clarifying that. Also, I know Mr. Nicholson already spoke on the stadium locker room. I do have my concerns. Of course, that whole LPGA thing needs to be addressed. That he mentioned the access and stuff on the highway, and I know that that's something that the city needs to be a little more diligent on, and it's spending some money and working with. The key is working with the Department of Transportation on the road system. There's a major project going through on the 28th on the northern end of this. Eventually, the southern end would come to light, and of course, the stadium is greatly affected by that. So it's another area of concern that I've had. Thank you very much.
And that should be my last speaker on the consent, so if you,
All right. Commissioner Strickland?
I just wanted to ask a couple questions about amending the Articles of Incorporation and bylaws for the First Step Shelter. To add, why do we need to add 2 members, 2 more board members?
Because, you know, Bob, do you want to, I'll let you answer. You know what they said? Because I'm in both roles.
Sure. Yeah, I'll be glad to answer that. My understanding from being at the meetings is they're looking to diversify their membership between political figures and private industry in order to maximize their fundraising capability.
Okay, question. If a person was on the board as a political nominee and then they're no longer on there because they have been defeated at the poll or decided not to run anymore, aren't they still isn't that still kind of the same thing? It's the same person to put them on there? Would that be the case of where we're going with this?
No.
No?
No. The objective here is, as he said, is simply to be able to get a few more people on there and be able to keep the city's representation. So you want to allow the city, and we also would like, ideally, to have someone from the county council to join, so that way you are able to have a diverse pool of people, both elected and not elected. If you remember when we got Roseanne to join the board,
Right.
and then we were able to get not Suzanne, what's the other lady's name? Escaping my memory.
Roseanne Tornato?
Roseanne, but is it Suzanne? The other lady?
Joan.
Joan
Campanera.
Sorry, Joan Campanera. Pardon me. They both are not elected. So ideally, we'd like to be able to get another person sort of like that who's not elected. And Mike Panaggio, not elected. But you still want to have space on the board
Right.
for elected people for each city and ultimately the county. And to answer your question, Dwight is not going to stay on the board.
Okay.
He has no desire to continue. We would like to get someone to replace him from Ormond Beach.
Right. I would also like to see a couple of people, if not just one of that 2, if we're going to do this, to be someone who has homeless experience. You know, whether it's feeding at Father Phil's on Saturday morning, or somebody along the lines that has frontline experience with homeless people, rather than people that are elected or basically fundraisers, that sort of thing, that don't have experience with the homeless community. But that's just me, because I have a soft spot.
I
for
know
those
you
people.
do, and you're committed to the shelter. But now I'm not going to give you much pushback. We have to approve whoever it is, right?
Yes, the commission
This
approves all
commission-
the membership.
Has to approve all the membership. So if it's someone that we try to appoint and you don't want them, you can just vote against them. But I would have to say that I think the board is as constructed, doing a good job, a great job.
They're doing a great job. You're doing a great job,
Well, I
Mayor,
don't
with
know
that,
about
with
that,
that.
but yeah.
But I just didn't want it to get, overrun by people that don't really have a heart for the homeless, that just need something for their resume.
We're
if
not
you
gonna
will.
put anybody on there like that.
Okay.
I mean, I
I'm
I
gonna
don't-
hold you to it
I
right here
want
in this
people
room.
on there who are like Roseanne and gave $250,000 to the,
Right,
and Joan, who was there from the beginning.
right.
I think we're picking people who are deeply committed to the purpose of the shelter.
I think Jones, Father Phil's handpicked person there.
Well,
That's good.
You're part of, yeah, that's what you all do at Lord's.
I have a question. Is there not staff representation on the board? Is there a staff member on the board?
Staff from the shelter.
Uh-huh.
The executive director reports to us and works with us.
Okay.
But there's no staff member,
Okay,
no.
so then I
And-
understand.
Yeah. But, I'd like to think that once you're on the board, you're kind of, you're invested in the homeless and committed.
I hope so.
Yeah, me too.
I'm good with the ones that are there. I'm worried about the two that are coming.
Okay, well, you just get up here, if you don't like them, you come right in here and tell us you don't like them and convince 4 of them to reject them. But I promise you, when I bring somebody's name, you're probably gonna say yes.
Or he can bring a name.
No, he can't, because it's shelter.
And it's
The
a
board
shelter
needs to
here.
bring their own
Oh.
persons, and then we'll bring them to this commission, and then we'll approve them,
So,
You can suggest someone,
with him,
and then they vet them?
this is the only time that the mayor and I can talk about this. I go to the board meeting,
That's true.
Slim over there shuts me down, says I can't talk.
Call
So-
the attorney, Slim.
He's,
It's so good.
but anyway, we can't talk there. We can't talk out on the street. We have to talk here about it. So I'm sorry if we're boring y'all, but it's near and dear to my heart. I know it's near and dear to his heart. So
And if you have someone, just tell me who they are, and I'll consider,
I'll have to get the manager to tell you. I can't tell you.
No, you can tell me right in here, though.
I will when I
You see,
do, if
everybody
I
else
have
want to know
somebody.
who you think it is. It's so good, but I'm telling you, I need some people that's gonna help us to
Right. I understand.
raise some money.
Right.
Okay. It costs money to run the shelter. Okay.
I'm done.
Okay.
Okay, and then David.
Oh, Mr. Waller, we're coming for you.
Oh, I just had some residents asking why we were resurfacing these parks, so I just wanted Mr. Waller to let them know what
Absolutely.
the procedure is.
David Waller, Public Works Director. What this is a different type of fall protection surface underneath the playground. The vast majority of our playgrounds in town have a fiber mulch, which is a compliant system for fall protection, but as people use the playgrounds, move the swings, go down the slides, stuff moves around, so we continually have to replenish. This is a system that's common. It's in most new playgrounds. These 2 playgrounds are new installs in the last couple of years, and so we're asking now to upgrade these to, it's called a pour-in-place, which is a rubberized play mat system that's placed up where the fiber mulch is, and it'll last the lifetime of the play equipment with some repairs that'll have to take place in the high use areas, under swings, the bottom of slides. But what it does for us is it reduces the regular maintenance that has to happen and provides a compliant fall zone all the time, regardless of how much play. These 2 playgrounds are getting significant amount of use, and so we appreciate the opportunity to improve their safe zones.
Thank you.
Thank you. Before we vote, I would like to address item 8F also. And I know that, we have a tradition here of just approving everyone's nomination. And I'm not trying to come against your nomination, Commissioner Strickland, but I just want us all to understand that the person, well, first of all, I guess I have a question. Is it possible for us to nominate 2 people from the same zone? Or does each zone have to have representation on this? Can you tell us the answer to that? Yes? you know?
I'd have to rely on
Ms.
Betty.
Goodman?
Each board is a little bit different in how they're made up, and I'd have to look at the exact language that creates the board to give you that answer, unless Betty knows off the top of her head.
So the makeup of this board is representation from each zone and one member at large. Now, whether that can be changed or not, I would have to refer to the attorney, I don't know, but that is the makeup of the board.
I want everyone to understand what I'm getting at, and it's your right and prerogative to, you know, appoint your person. But Ernie Murphy has been on this board for a long time, and I understand sometimes we feel as though we don't have term limits on the board, but he hadn't just been on the board. He's a true wheel for making this board work. Truly a person that has been dedicated and committed. He's a person, he's an artist himself, a former teacher and a guru for this board. And if you talk to the staff, they will tell you that he's gonna be missed. He's not just someone that you just replace, you know, just because you just, you know, who's not doing anything. And unfortunately, the other person, who's my at-large person, who's also the chairperson, is also a wheel. So I can't get rid of Lloyd Bowers. And you guys remember that some years back when we started the Peabody Foundation and the money that's been raised through the foundation, these two have been, they've been very important in that, and all the things that have happened in the Peabody. So I'm not asking us not to support your nominee, but I would like to see if we can find a way to adjust this to keep Mr. Murphy on this board. And I don't know if that's.
And Mary Martin is the chair right now.
Yeah.
At the
Okay.
executive chair of it, yeah. And she's been on it for a while too. And
She's a wheel too.
right.
But the board has been a high-functioning board, and it's just not, for me, good practice not to have a discussion when you got a guy, this man has been doing his work. And for him not to be on the board, it would be a loss to the board. So is there anything that we could do?
Well, I have a question for Betty, I think, at this point. My understanding was that the reason these were on consent was because there was no other applicant. Did the former members apply?
No.
Apply,
They did apply.
yes.
He
So-
applied.
But it's zone specific,
Right.
yes.
So, but Mr. Murphy did or did not apply?
Yes, he did,
So there were two applicants for the one position,
yes.
right?
And it is an advisory board as opposed to a board that's managed by the Land Development Code. So, I mean, I don't know, can it be
Right.
changed?
So,
to-
well, we're not going to change the code tonight. We're going to stick with the requirements that we have. We can amend those at a later date if you wish. But in terms of this item tonight, you can pull it and bring it back for reconsideration if you want to open it up to more applicants. Or you can make a vote tonight as to who you appoint. You don't have to go necessarily with the nomination from that zone. Am I right on that, Betty?
But it's zone specific.
I know the
so
member has
each-
to be from the zone, but it doesn't have to be nominated by the commissioner as well?
It does,
It does, okay.
Well,
Well,
it
then-
has to be his nominee?
yes.
Oh, I didn't even know that was a rule. I thought we had to agree. And there's no.
Well, you do have to
You still have to
agree.
vote on who he nominates.
Yes, but it's zone specific. So each specific commissioner nominate who they want to
So then
represent them.
That's not an option. Not that
Yeah.
I wanted that to be an option. I don't want to give that impression. But I,
Evaluate, looking back, if these particular boards don't have to be a part of the other seats, if there could be a certain number, that's what you're trying to be beyond what is already set up.
I want this guy on the board. I'll just tell you straight up why. You know, I'm telling you why. If you know him, you know why.
No, you make a good case.
You know, you know. You don't know him, you might not know. But I'm not just here advocating for Flip Wilson, who doesn't have a clue about what's going on. You know. So,
Well, Commissioner Strickland, are you?
no, I'm not. I don't want to do that. to him.
You're saying that
Microphone.
Microphone, pull it down.
each commissioner person has to come from their zone?
Yes,
Okay.
And it has to be a nomination from the zone commissioner.
yes,
And it has to be a
And then we
nomination.
vote on whether or not we accept that nomination.
Right.
correct.
And so the mayor is asking, can we change the code to where a commissioner could nominate outside of their zone?
No.
Well, that could have been conceivable, but I just want to figure a way to, what I'm really asking is, can we add another person?
Yeah, that's what
Can
he's
you, can you
asking.
give the mayor 2 at-larges? Anything? Just give me another one. So I
We could come
get this
back with an
guy-
amendment to do that. We can't do that tonight, but we could bring that back as an ordinance amendment.
So we'll go ahead and approve his, and then you guys bring us an amendment to bring the mayor 2 people. Yes.
I was going to suggest that we pull this off the agenda until we get it straightened out to your liking and whatever the city attorney says we need to do to expand it to another person.
If you pull it tonight, then the current members will serve until they're replaced. So the current membership would remain the same until you're voted on it again.
Okay, that's fine.
Well, it's been that way for 10 years. I think it'll be all right for another meeting or two.
Yeah. Okay.
So we want,
That works for me. It doesn't matter.
All right.
As long
And
as
then-
I know we're gonna come back and,
We come back,
Point
fix
person.
it, he gets to stay, and my nominee gets on.
Right.
Okay. We'll pull it off for tonight then until we get that straightened out.
Bear in mind, this will be an ordinance amendment, 2 readings, so it'll take a couple meetings in order to accomplish the
Okay.
change.
okay. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Mr. Manager, can you have it on the next agenda for first reading?
Yes,
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Good deal. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right, we have a motion. We have a second, right? We don't have a
no, we
motion?
don't have a motion. in a second.
Can I have a motion? Motion from Commissioner
Now,
Parrish?
before you do that, so we're going to move to table or continue this particular item first, before you approve the,
Can they do that as part of their motion? Or-
we can do it all as one motion, that'd be fine, I suppose. But we definitely need to have 2 separate votes so that we know that we're continuing this item on the Peabody Auditorium and then voting on the consent agenda.
Okay.
Move to continue.
All right. Do I have a second? I have a motion to continue in a second. All right. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0.
Now we'll take a vote on the
A motion
consent
to
agenda.
approve the consent.
Yeah. Now I need a motion, another motion for the consent agenda.
So moved.
Okay, so
All right, I'll take a motion from Commissioner Strickland and a second from Commissioner Parrish. All right, all those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0.
Okay. Right, so now we're going to move on to item number 9, which is our public hearings. Item 9A is Growth Management and Planning Department, 326 South Grandview, Small Scale Comprehensive Plan Amendment. This is an ordinance on second reading, public hearing. An ordinance adopting a small scale comprehensive plan amendment in accordance with Section 163.3187 of the Florida statutes, amending the future land use map designation of 1.04 plus or minus acres of property generally located southwest of the intersection of East International Speedway Boulevard and South Grandview Avenue from level 2 residential L2R to retail, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith and providing an effective date.
All right, we have a motion and a second.
And I don't have any speakers for this item, Mr. Mayor.
All right, we have no speakers, no comments. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those who are opposed? Pardon? How do you get to be a speaker? Okay, yeah, just fill out a form right there, completed public speaking forms. Did you want to speak on this item, ma'am?
I want to speak on reserve foreman, otherwise known as 10 times foreman. That's what I want to speak on. Has this been addressed yet?
I don't think this, I don't know what you're referring to, ma'am. What's the item on the agenda?
Well, I don't know.
Okay, you want to take a look?
Well, we'll let you
You want
take,
to show me? I've never done this before, but
Okay.
I've got some pretty pertinent information, so
okay,
somebody can show me.
Ma'am, we'll get an agenda and we'll.
all right.
Okay, so we had a,
Well, I want her to know if that's her item, but just calm down. I just wanted to know if it's her item so she can talk on it. I don't know.
9-8.
Foreman Reserve?
I think she had the wrong commission meeting.
Okay. We have a, well, you know I'd be feeling that way too. We have a motion, right, and a second?
Yes, yes.
This is not the item,
I
is
don't
it?
think it's the item.
All right, okay. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0.
Okay.
Maybe she might, maybe it's in Ormond, maybe that's where it's at.
Do you want me to go ahead? Okay, so I'm going to move on to item 9B, which is the Growth Management and Planning Department, Second Amendment to the Memorial Health Systems, Inc., PD, Plan Development General, rezoning. This is an ordinance on second reading, quasi-judicial hearing. An ordinance approving the Second Amendment to the Memorial Health Systems, Inc., Plan District Agreement to add an
Jesus, lady. Yeah.
That's okay. To add an electronic message center sign and signage for surgery center to provide language addressing the completion of the Memorial Medical Parkway to Strickland Range Road, authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to execute the Second Amendment, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date.
So move.
Second.
Take a motion from Commissioner Cantu and a second from Commissioner Reed.
I do have the applicant here available for questions, Deanna Kaufman. If you want.
I'm out of order in this case. This lady does want to speak. When it's her turn, we'll get the paper afterward if it's okay with the
That's
chair.
fine.
Perfectly
I
fine.
don't have any other speakers for this item, so if she'd like to go ahead and speak, you get 3 minutes to.
I'm really not prepared. I have a bunch of stuff I can turn into you.
Okay, go ahead.
No, you need to come to the mic and say your name
Well-
and your address.
Well, she wants to take her papers out.
Well, you know what,
You only
Derek
get-
Henry, I'm be fine. Thank you. My name is Kathy Stymack. I live at 600, no. I live at 500 Crown Loop, number 115.
What city?
It is in Ormond Beach. It is an apartment building. The office is 600 Crown Commerce, Ormond Beach, Florida, 32174. Does this pertain to the property that we are speaking of right now?
No, this is the property in Daytona Beach. This is only City of Daytona Beach property.
Okay, then I will show, then why is there is a sign outside on the corner going into the Advent Hospital that several weekends ago had a shooting on the 11th floor. Is this pertaining to that?
No.
No. This is just an electronic messaging sign for the hospital, yeah.
The road access. Road access to what?
This particular item is to approve an electronic messaging sign for the hospital.
Okay, ma'am,
Yeah.
we can't address it any further.
I'll fill out my paperwork and give you all my documentation. And if you'll give me an email, I'll send all my pictures. Ormond Beach doesn't have the stature of Daytona, does it? Nobody cares about Ormond Beach and the residents that live there, do they? Especially the ones that are hidden by all the rich homes, that are blocked in by all the wealthy. Oh, you know the ones off of Lincoln.
Okay. I did it. Kim, never mind. Kim. I have Mr. Frederick Brown, who also signed up to speak.
He was just bring the lights on.
I know, but
Berick Brown, 1508 Crescent Ridge, Daytona Beach. Yeah, on this issue, and I really appreciate what the hospital's been doing as far as their growth man. But I brought this up several times, and they're asking in this, the rest of this is just the sign, but it also says about language addressing completion of additional roadway connection to Strickland Range Road. That's what I'm reading. The problem I have is that when the county did their project, which they consider complete, they took a 4-lane road, narrowed it down to a 2-lane road, no traffic signal whatsoever. So you have a continuous stream of vehicles. We've already had one fatality. I don't know how many other fatalities we're going to have. But until we put a signal on that intersection, and I don't know if it's going to be the city, because you got a city road meeting with a county road. In my opinion, the county should have addressed that. The city should have told the county that they needed to put a signal there. Unfortunately, there isn't. And that road is a main thoroughfare to getting to the hospital. I use it quite a bit, and it's you put your life in your hands trying to get from Strickland Range Road onto the north end of Williamson. And of course, you know, with the expansion of hospital, which I'm all in favor of, but I know down the road they're supposed to fix that bottleneck. Problem is, we need there's not even a stop sign for the northbound. So they're traveling at high rates of speed, and they're taking 2 lanes and cramming into one. And it's a very dangerous situation. We need to address that ASAP. Thank you very much.
Okay. That was my final speaker. And again, I do have Deanna Kaufman here on behalf of the applicant for any questions.
Do we have any questions for Ms. Kaufman? Okay. No questions? Okay, all those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0.
Okay. Moving on to item 9C, it's a Growth Management and Planning Department, Waypoint Community Development District, CDD. This is an ordinance on second reading, public hearing. An ordinance granting the petition of Coulter Group Acquisitions, LLC, for establishment of a community development district, creating and establishing the Waypoint Community Development District, providing for name, powers, and duties, providing description and boundaries, providing initial members of the Board of Supervisors, providing severability, and an effective date.
So move.
All right, we have a motion and a second. We have speakers.
I do have Mr. Jerry Earlywine here, excuse me, for questions only on behalf of the applicant.
Okay. No questions. All right, all those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0.
Okay. I'm going to move on to item 10, which is our administrative items. Item 10A is City Manager's Office 2023-2024 Proposed State and Federal Legislative Priorities Resolution. A resolution approving state legislative and federal issues as priorities for fiscal year 2023-24 and providing an effective date. Mr. Hardy Smith to report. And then I do have a speaker.
Oh, Mr. City Manager, Mayor, members of the Commission, Hardy Smith, Government Relations Administrator for the City of Daytona Beach. What you have before you tonight is a proposed list of state and federal priorities for the 2023-2024 legislative and congressional cycles. The items before you tonight are based on the historically identified priorities, challenges, issues, those things that the commissions of the past have said these are what important for the City of Daytona Beach. And then tonight, the request is you give a review to what's being proposed, and then of course feel free to add to the list or subtract from the list as you so desire. We have an appropriations request that I want to give specific attention to. You know, there are many pieces to the puzzle when it comes to addressing flooding issues in Daytona Beach. No one solution is the answer. City staff has identified a critically important infrastructure item that we really saw in Hurricane Ian and Nicole, the situation that we face when we have lengthy power outages. We have 159 sanitary sewer lift stations. Out of the 159, 113 of those do not have any auxiliary backup power. So when power goes out, sewage isn't, well, it goes somewhere, It isn't going into the plant to be treated. Where it goes back into your home, into your business, or floating around as raw sewage out in the streets. So we had, during Hurricane Ian, we had power failures, lengthy power outages at 65 of the 113 lift stations without any backup power. So a catastrophic situation. City staff has identified a capital funding request of, it would be a 2-year project of over $12 million to buy these backup, buy these generators, install the generators so they are would be permanent. This legislative cycle, with the guidance of State Representative Tom Leake, who is the appropriations chair of the Florida House of Representatives, and also with the sponsorship of Representative Chase Tremont and Senator Tom Wright, we are proposing an appropriations request of $6.1 million to purchase and install generators for our lift stations. We would come back again next year with part 2. By the way, our local match for this will be in excess of almost $4 million that the city has already invested in permanent backup power at other facilities. So we're just trying to work through the list. Another item directly related to flooding, just a brief update at the federal level. The Army Corps of Engineers has until the end of February, so we're just a few days away from their list of projects that they propose as projects to be funded by the Hurricane Ian Disaster Supplemental Bill. That was all passed by Congress, signed by the President during the omnibus federal budget bill at the end of 2022. A lot of process here. Senator Rubio, thank you, Commissioner Reed, and also Congressman Waltz. Thank you, Commissioner Cantu. I think our Congressman Waltz specialist has really been advocating to the Army Corps for Daytona Beach to be one of those projects that are included in Hurricane Ian. So keep your fingers crossed. We have it till the end of the month. They have 60 days, so the clock ends at the end of 60 days. The rest of the other items, I'll be glad to answer any questions or entertain any comment. There is one additional item to add on to the list. The city commissioner, I believe, the city manager has briefed each commissioner. There's a request that's actually a developer request, but it's being submitted by the city because the developer can't submit a request. But this is for our portion would be a water line and a development to the west of the city. And
but it's not only a developer request. The infrastructure will be for many of the county and school board facilities out there by the prison as well, in the county operations that we need to have utility lines and pressure out there.
You all have any questions about these very important projects that we hope come home?
Okay.
Okay, all right.
I do have speakers for this item, Mr. Mayor.
okay.
Okay, our first speaker is Cynthia
Thank you.
Slater, and on deck is John Nicholson.
Good evening. I'm Cynthia Slater, President of the Daytona Beach NAACP. My address is 815 South Cottle Circle, and I am represented by Commissioner Reed of Zone 6. I stand before you this evening, first to thank this commission for appropriating COVID dollars to the community residents who were impacted by Hurricane Ian and Nicole. Although the funding helped with relief, we still have work to do to mitigate the problems of flooding. Since September 28th, when Hurricane Ian made landfall in Daytona Beach, the community has suffered tremendously with the loss of everything that we worked so hard for. Then in early November, Hurricane Nicole hit, adding to the burden of what community residents had already suffered. Many residents attended city commission meetings and community meetings, sharing their frustration during that time as to what went wrong and what could have been done to avoid the disasters from these hurricanes. However, we know that many sections of our community are low-lying, so we understand that flooding will happen. After several meetings and stories of despair, city officials listened to our complaints and concerns and responded positively to the constituents. I spoke on several occasions with the city manager, the mayor, my commissioner, and Hardy Smith about what could and should be done to fix the problems of flooding in our community. Additionally, there were residents of this community who presented ingenious ideas on how to correct the issues of flooding. For example, Pierre Lewis. Tonight, on behalf of the NAACP and this community, of which we are called on all too many times, I stand before you in support of the city's proposal of your legislative priorities. We support the request for the city's initiative to install backup power generators at sanitary sewer lift stations and treatment plants. This would help the more than 159 sewer stations to have backup power generators in the event of power outages during hurricanes and other storm-related conditions. We highly support your initiative for funding for projects that would contribute to reduce the impact of flooding. This should be the #1 project. And we also support the funding of the Army Corps of Engineers for the Nova Canal Flood Mitigation Feasibility Study. It is our hope that Congress understands the need and the importance of this study for our community so that hundreds of residents and businesses do not have to endure another hurricane or storm that results in flooding and loss of property. If by chance this commission needs a letter of support, please know that the NAACP is here to draft that letter. As a community, we are all here to support the city in ensuring a positive, healthy, and wholesome quality of life for all residents. Thank you for all you've done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Our next speaker is John Nicholson, and on deck is Frederick Brown.
Those are well said. Yeah.
John Nicholson, 413 North Grandview Avenue. Every so often I bring this up. Sales tax, all right? You do realize that the last time I checked, we raised $103 million in sales tax and we got back $5 million. We lost $98 million in sales tax. All of the tourist industries from Miami, Tampa, Jacksonville, it's all based on population. Our population is small compared to the amount of money that we raise. We just had several events. The Super Bowl, the Super Bowl don't really affect us, but we have 5 major events. We raise a tremendous amount of money, and we don't get any of it back. It may not seem like a lot to lose $100 million a year, but some of the things that we're doing, we could use that $100 million year after year after year. So I've been here, we've lost, $4 billion or so, give or take. We could do a lot with that. So I'm asking you to consider joining the other counties that are losing money, and well, of course, our school board is losing money left and right. We need to join together and get some of that money back, a proportional share or something. So to lose, at this point, we're losing way over $100 million a year. To get, I know we're not going to get all the money back, but at least 20%. So if we only get 20 million or 40 million back, it helps us. So I'm asking you to find some way to push the inequity that we're losing this kind of money. Thank you.
Okay. Our next speaker is Frederick Brown.
Frederick Brown, 1508 Crescent Ridge, Daytona Beach. Yeah, I want to concur, of course, with everything that Ms. Slater had stated. But as you know, I have talked about this numerous times. I gave you a presentation in a previous meeting referring to the Dutch answer. I won't embarrass you with a show of hands of how many people actually watched the most critical video. I do know at least one commissioner has. Hopefully, the rest of you have, especially those of you whose constituents were severely affected by this. It's not only should be a priority, it should be the number one priority in the city, all other things aside. I had brought this up before the storm. I brought it up between the storms, and I'm bringing it up again after the storms. There was no backup power for those stations. How the city got that far, that long, I have no idea, but it's just not responsible city management, okay? Now, I urge you to go back, that document I handed out, other than the one linked to Mr. Ovink, there's a K missing on there, but the main thing I wanted to see was the Dutch answer. And I've pointed out numerous times, and I know you think it's something from the future, but it works. You need to use solar systems in there. They're flawless. They don't have any bumps as far as loss of power during storms. It's working technology that is here today. And that is something we should be putting on all the stations. And that way you can localize. Now, in the long run, it will save you money. Not only, of course, the power of usage, but the installation costs will be a lot less. And of course, you won't have any diesel fuel to deal with, adding again to the global warming and the rising, which is adding to the problem. But I urge you, before you get down this highway and throw away millions of dollars, at least invite Mr. Ovink to this city. The man is a fountain of information. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, please watch that first video. It's called The Dutch Answer, and any of the citizens out there, you can see it. I'm going to be doing presentations at various groups throughout the city. I've already talked to Ms. Slater. I was going to do it previously at Midtown, because my goal is to inform the citizens how important this is. It's going to take all of our voices to not have us throw money away and not sit on the sidelines, because as Ms. Slater stated, this is something that is very, very important. I've talked about this numerous times. I am here to help. Again, we're not invited to these federal funding meetings. Perhaps maybe we should do something where we can get involved. I've talked to our utility director. I want to talk more in depth on that. But please, I beg you, watch the Dutch Answer, the 60-minute special that I gave you the papers last week. And then you can make an effective decision on this. Thank you.
Okay, that was my final speaker for this item, Mr. Mayor.
All right, do we have any questions for Hardy? No.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Hardy.
Thank you.
I don't have a motion or a second.
Do I have a motion? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those who are opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0.
Okay, we're going to move on to item 10B, which is City Manager's Office, Volusia County Tourist Development Council Appointment Resolution. A resolution appointing a commissioner as the representative for the city to the Volusia County Tourist Development Council and providing an effective date.
Remember, I stated that Commissioner Traeger served in that, and Commissioner Paris has agreed if she's appointed to serve as well.
And I'll nominate her.
We have a motion, we have a second. Do we have any speakers?
I do not have any speakers for this
All
item,
right,
Mr. Mayor.
all those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0. Thank you for your service, Commissioner Paris.
Okay. Moving on to item 10C. It is the Growth Management and Planning Department, outside activities associated with Bike Week 2023. This is a resolution authorizing temporary outside activities at 551 Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune Boulevard during Bike Week 2023, establishing conditions, providing for violations and enforcement, and providing an effective date.
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
I don't have any speakers for this item, Mr. Mayor.
We have no speakers. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0.
Moving on to item 10D, it's the Growth Management and Planning Department outside activities associated with Bike Week 2023. This is a resolution. This is a resolution allowing temporary outside activities for undeveloped property located on the southeast corner of Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune Boulevard and Green Street during Bike Week 2023, establishing conditions, providing for violations and enforcement, and providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Reed and a second from Commissioner Cantu.
And I have no speakers for this item, Mr. Mayor.
All right. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0.
Okay. And that was our last agenda item.
All right, this time we will have comments and inquiries from the City Commission, and it starts tonight with
Commissioner Strickland.
Commissioner Strickland.
Let's see here. I really don't have much tonight. Progress is moving forward for lights and cameras for Seabreeze, Collins Park. Also, we had, I'll let the city manager close this out for me. Could you update us a little bit on Dr. Robert Young coming at some point? And that's the end of my comments.
Yes, Commissioners, at the last meeting, you gave a consensus to contact Dr. Young, who is a professor that deals with climate and water and water issues, erosion. He had a conversation with me, and he plans on coming to our area the end of March or the 1st of April. He says that's the most available time he could come. And so I did speak with him, and we're going to schedule. He's not charging us anything. We're just paying for his travel to get here. He will do a presentation for the community to talk about what's happening out there in the ocean, as he says. Also, I will give an update on your item. Commissioner Strickland met with me, Chief Young, and our Chief IT Director, Hussey, this past week, where we went through to Seabreeze area, and A1A area, as well as some of our parks, to discuss lighting in those communities and also cameras. And so the Hussey and Chief Young are working with their teams to determine how can we expedite doing some of the improvements you all have been talking about in that area. And I think that our Commissioner Strickland is going to fund some of those items out of his ARPA fund. So I think that's a good thing for his community, and we're going to try to partner with him to do what you all have been asking for many years.
Since you brought that up, at this time, until we do redistricting, I only represent down to the north side of Seabreeze. Another commissioner represents the south side, which is as much a part of this almost as the north side. Maybe that commissioner in Zone 3, when she returns, could see her way to donate some funds to that too, if possible.
Well, I think that's a very good suggestion, and hopefully we'll see. You can make that suggestion when she returns.
Thank you.
She watches the meeting. Okay. Thank you. That's a good.
No comment.
Okay.
No comment. I just want to say that I'm happy that staff has joined me in sponsoring the Senior Citizen Prom, A Night to Remember. It's this Saturday night. You had to be a current participant in our Senior Oasis programs. I extended the invitation to all 5 of our senior citizens, our Oasis, and we have 220 people that are coming. And once the word got out, they tell me that seniors that aren't even involved in Oasis were calling to say, could they come? But I think that these citizens who take the time to participate in the programs that we have for them to keep their minds active and to keep them involved are the ones that I chose to celebrate. And the manager in my stead, because I'm leaving for a conference, is going to host. But I want to give a shout out to Caitlin and to Betty and to Vince and to Keith, who all have met with me. Justin met yesterday. And it's going to be a wonderful something, from a dinner and dance and photography, so a night to remember. I'm excited.
So last week I met with 100 or more residents from Fairway Estates, and I know they're going to be really happy about this legislative priorities to help with the flooding. Over 400 homes in their area alone flooded. So like I said, I know they'll be happy about this. So I hope everything goes through. Everyone out there, please say prayers, because we need them. Another thing also, I went to the municipal stadium. I don't know if anyone else has been there, but it really is beautiful. And we have a semi-pro team here, the Daytona Beach Broncos, and they did win. And their next game is February 25th. So I hope we could go out and support them. I just hear a lot of people say that there's not a lot going on in the city. So I just, challenge you to go on our website, check out the events, and participate. It's really important. And then I just had a question also about the redistricting. Like, what is our time frame to get information, and do we have that?
Mr. Morris may be able to answer. She was asking the time frame for redistricting and when that information will come back to the.
Well, presently, as Mayor Commissioner Jim Morris, Deputy City Manager, with Commissioner May absent, we are holding up on any presentations and so on till all commissioners are present. I think each commissioner may have something or another that they're interested in, and by that I mean a little nook here, a cranny there. There's pieces when you look at the lines. And I know that I think all of you, I believe, have gotten information regarding how to identify your district in terms of streets and other things that let you drive and see where it is, besides just looking on a map, and not that you don't know the streets and so on, because you do, but when you start to drive around, you just probably get a little bit better idea of that. So when Commissioner May gets back, and we can have input from all the commission members all at the same time as to what they want to do, and I can think of a couple places where there's probably more than one commissioner that has an interest in the same place. And as any commissioner knows, for a particular commissioner to have their way, they need at least 3 other commissioners to agree with them. And when the 3 commissioners plus the one that wants their way can agree, that will give staff direction to work with the consultant so that we can modify lines and so on to make those fine-tuning adjustments that I have heard from different commissioners they are interested in. In terms of the time of finishing from there, I don't think it will really take that much time to adjust the maps. I'm not sure about whether we have a legal deadline or not, Bob. Do we or not?
Nothing that's pressing.
Okay. So we're ready to respond. Right now we're on hold, in fairness to Commissioner May in her absence. And from the perspective of any commissioner that wants or needs to be away, you shouldn't be held prisoner by your office, so we're going to work with that. And when she comes back, you'll have a full commission. Y'all can give us direction, and we will do our best to process it, bring the results back to you, and hopefully identify a plan that all of the commission can support. So I can't answer your question specifically. We will do it as promptly as we can. All the data is computerized. We've also gone to the block information.
I didn't want to rush it. I just want to know if there was
we'll do it.
time frame.
It's not a question of rushing as it is just prioritizing and getting it done. And right now we're waiting on final directions because we need a majority of the commission to tell us the bits and pieces, because it will be bits and pieces in terms of how it goes, or if there's bigger objections, which we don't know, and certainly we'll just have to wait and see what the commission collectively decides. And none of you collectively have had your opportunity to make a decision. That will come when we get to this next little bit of workshops. So I would say from today's date, probably figure 2 months from today's date, probably somewhere on that order, we'd be able to do that kind of work and put things down on paper so you can see the revisions and there will be revisions of what you currently have seen.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
That's all I had.
Commissioner Reed, I'm sorry I missed the getting as well.
Me too.
Really sorry, because I was hoping to take my mother. She's an OASIS participant, and the OASIS program is one of our best.
It is.
Because it covers all areas pretty much of the city, and it gives our senior citizens an opportunity to engage in activities that they, as different bodies, are interested in. They have various committees and leaders that come together and plan activities for them. And what I like most is that they're in the same centers, same facilities, oftentimes at the same time as young people. Sometimes they meet later in the afternoon. There's just different activities. Most of them meet in the morning, but they then sometimes come back for other activities at different times. And I've always liked community centers that had, gave seniors an opportunity to interact with young people and vice versa, because I think that that's how you really build a sense of community. And so thank you for your sponsorship and in doing that. I did want to mention the Mayor's Gala, and I wanted to thank each of you personally for your attendance. All of you were there, and all of you have been very supportive of this initiative being the First Step Shelter. And as you know, the shelter it's been a city, Daytona Beach, largely driven effort. And we were able to raise in that, at that gala, $275,000. And I think that's something that, I think that we should be clapping, and we should applaud that and applaud the community. Certainly intend to do it again next year. And what I'm most impressed by is that you didn't just raise that because you had to pay for the gala after that. About $235,000 or $240,000 of that is profit. You don't have a gala of that nature. And most people have said that it's, is one of the best that they've ever seen in our community. And I'm proud of everyone who participated, but you don't have a gala of that quality without a lot of in-kind. And so we had a lot of people to thank, including the Hilton, who stepped up and gave us a first-rate deal in terms of the pricing on the meals and everything. So they served as a platinum sponsor, and we had over, I think, 11 or 12 platinum sponsors who all wrote checks in excess of up to $10,000. And then we had gold sponsors and silver. And so next year we will come back, do the same thing, and I'll have a different challenge. And ultimately I have a goal of raising a lot more money, because the shelter costs a lot of money. And we don't want the government to forever have to manage the shelter in terms of finances. And so we have to continue to find ways to raise money through programs like this. And so next year I have a much bigger goal. This year we exceeded our goal. We had a goal of, some members on the board didn't think we raised any money. I went in with at least a goal of 100,000, but I always felt we could exceed that. And we, as you can tell, we more than doubled that. So next year we'll do the same thing and hopefully go a lot further. And again, thank you, you, and you. You five were there. And I'd also like to thank the manager, who wasn't present, but that's not a knock on him. It was the manager, and Ms. Goodman was there, and other staff members, but it was the manager who went to a gala someplace else and came back and said to me, "Mayor, I think you can raise some money." And he called, he said, "For your shelter." I was like, "Your shelter." He said, I said, "Okay." And so he gave me the idea. He said he'd help me work, but I'm not gonna sit here and lie. He ain't done nothing. But the idea. And then there's always next year. Next year we're gonna put him to work, but I felt like he gave me the work this time because he probably feels like he's always giving me work. So I'm gonna give him something. So, but thank you, great idea, and great job. Did you have anything?
Yeah, just a couple of things. One of the things both Commissioner Henry, I heard her when she said it about the sports complex. One of the things you all approved tonight was the master plan for our Parks and Rec department. That is going to be a holistic way of looking at how we make our city a tourist destination using our property. So I know that the Parks and Rec department is very pleased with the vote that you all gave tonight, and we're going to try to move that forward. So we will be the destination of choice when people are trying to decide where they want to bring their sports tourism. The citizen survey is online. We've had people send it out. We have a great turnaround rate. on it. So it's we're encouraging all of our citizens to fill it out. We're going to try to do stuff at our facilities to get them to fill out. It's a very long survey, but I filled it out because it benchmarks us against other communities that do these type of surveys as well. And next week you'll receive some dates for a goal setting and strategic planning retreat that we are going to try to set up to make sure that we have all of your ideas before we go into our budget season that can help us map out how you all see this city for the next 5 to 10 years. So you'll get dates, a survey monkey to fill out, and hopefully we'll get something on the books. And that's all my report.
Okay. Mr. Jagger?
Nothing further.
Okay. All right, that concludes the commission's comments. At this time, we will hear from the world's greatest residents, the citizens of Daytona Beach.
Okay. Our first speaker is Constance Portier, and on deck is Patricia Hurd.
Hi, I'm Constance Portier, and I am a resident of Port Orange, but I'm the founder of the Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune Children's Choir, and they will be representing themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Why should I feel discouraged? And why should these shadows, why should they come? Why should my heart feel lonely and long for heaven and home? Good evening. This is our director, Miss Portier, our choir president, David Cherry, and other members of our choir. Greetings to you all and happy Black History Month. I am Jace Williams, a member of the Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune-Cookman Children's Legacy Choir. And my goal in life, like the other members of the choir, is to make my talents go as far as possibly as they can in music. Under Mrs. Portier's leadership, we have been invited to sing at Carnegie Hall in New York, June 24th to the 28th. And at the National Association of Negro Musicians in Dallas, Texas, we have been assessed in $1,499,000 for the room and board, city, travel, food, and celebratory cruise. The deadline to remit payment is April 1st, and it is as quickly approaching. For this opportunity, we are still in need of funds to travel to New York and accommodate our chaperones and hopefully see our first Broadway musical. In Dallas, I will be singing a solo, performing as part of a trio and lending my voice to the convention's youth choir. We will need travel, food, and hotel expenses for that trip as well. Since we are a newly established choir, we will also need to purchase gowns, tuxedos, travel t-shirts, music, soundtracks, and pay accompaniments and support our coaches. We will need at least $50,000 in financial support for both trips. Dr. Bethune said that the future really belongs to us. Please help ensure that we can continue to keep music at the highest level in Volusia County schools, churches, and communities. Thank you.
Can I ask, which, y'all, the children, could you stand up? I just want to ask you a question. You still got some seconds? Yeah, only one person talked. What school are you all, how old are you all?
I'm 16 and I'm attending Mainland High School. I'm in the 11th grade at the moment.
Okay.
I'm 12 and I attend Buddy Taylor Middle School.
What school?
Buddy Taylor.
Buddy Taylor. And you?
10 years old and I'm in Rain.
What? Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. Kevin Myers, okay, very good, awesome. Thank you very much for your presentation tonight, and we wish you well, and you guys will hear from me.
Mr.
Okay.
Can we use COVID funds for this?
It is educational, and they're tax deductible. But here's, yeah. You can. I'm pretty sure you can. But I think you guys will.
Since last month, we just started the club back in the fall, so we're just reestablishing ourselves with other organizations, so we were invited to sing at Carnegie Hall and in Dallas.
Yeah.
You what? You can't? Why not?
Okay.
Well, I was told before, I don't know, they had to have been tax exempt during the time of COVID. So 2 years or whatever the date from COVID was, so I wasn't able to give to a newer nonprofit because they weren't tax exempt during the time of COVID. There was no loss for them during COVID.
Okay.
They didn't have a
Makes
loss.
sense.
It is something we could look into. I mean, there's no reason to decide that tonight necessarily.
Well, if that's the rule and we can't use COVID funds, I can use Bike Week funds, can I?
Yes.
Yes.
I'll give them 1,000 in Bike Week funds.
Oh, you're so sweet.
You are. Okay. All right. Do we have any other comments? Okay. I will be coming back later. Go ahead.
Our next speaker is Patricia Hurd.
Good afternoon, Patricia Hurd, 822 Vernon Street, Daytona Beach, Florida. Commissioner Reed, help me. There's a song that the lyrics say it all. If I can help somebody as I travel along the way, then my living will not be in vain. You know, I did 44 years out there with these kids, those kids, and I'm still in love with them. Mrs. Portier was going to take the Campbell Middle School to New York several years ago before COVID. And I went out there, took over her class, they loved me, and I wrote a check. I did not go to my organization or anything, but I went in my pocket. That's what I'm saying to you all. Don't worry about Bike Week and all of that. Go in your individual pockets to help these students who are our future of tomorrow. Okay. I went to the school, and I told you that, and I did write a check even for this year for them to go to New York. They are representing Daytona Beach, Florida. They're putting us on the map. And if time and everything turn out, I will be assisting, chaperoning them to Texas. So I'm here asking you as commissioners, leaders of the city, to help these students. And if you cannot use COVID money and all those other people money, you know, go in your individual pockets. Thank you, and have a good evening.
Okay. Our next speaker it's Justin, is it A-R-A-J? Araj, I'm sorry. And on deck is Robert Howard.
Well, congratulations on a beautiful city. And what I have to say is probably trivial compared to all the topics that were covered, but where I live at 345 Boylston, there's a huge garbage issue from the neighboring apartment complex, and I grind up all their trash daily whenever I use my lawnmower. And I found some statutes and city ordinances that they're in violation of from 78.12 through 24. I don't want to bore you with all that, but the fence is down, and I don't know if there's anything that can be done about it. I've called the gentlemen that are in charge of violations like this, but it kind of falls on deaf ears. I haven't gotten very far with it. It's Ocean Breeze Condominiums that is the violation company. That's all.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Ms. Portier, I've already gotten a text message, and looks like maybe even 2 of them, I'm not sure. And so I will need to talk with you, because I'll go through social media and try to help you that way. That is a way that I've been successful with some other organizations.
I appreciate it.
And so,
How close are you to the goal, Ms. Portier?
We're still trying, the first assessment is for the housing and everything in New York. We are about 50% there.
okay. All right, so I just wanted to say that, and I will start posting it and figuring out ways to try to help you, because we have a very charitable community, and that's one way that my office and a lot of times is able to do it. And anyone else that wants to participate, let's just put it out there and get the word out there. Okay. All right.
Okay, our next speaker is Robert Howard, and on deck is Thomas Russell. Is there a Robert Howard? Okay, then our next speaker is Thomas Russell.
Didn't identify myself last time. Thomas Russell. My address is 2027 North Halifax, and I'm concerned about a property that I have located on the real North Beach Street. All of you know where the real North Beach Street is?
Yeah,
All right,
right
if you
down
don't,
here.
it's between Fairview
Right down the street.
and Mason Avenue.
That's right.
That's the real North Beach Street. I passed out a copy of a map so everybody would understand what I was talking about. There is a lagoon, for lack of a better term, called the Root Canal. Does everybody know about the Root Canal? I've talked to many people that never heard of it, and some work with the city. So I thought I'd bring them out. I would like to address the flooding that's caused by the Root Canal, and supplemented by the fact that new bulkheads have been installed from the yacht club, our nice new park. They're all higher. Every bulkhead is higher. They go all the way up past every new bridge, and then they go across there, and where the Seabreeze Bridge comes back, every bulkhead is a foot to 18 inches higher than it was 25 years ago when I bought my property. 25 years ago, my property sits at the very end of that, and the flooding that we got came from the manholes. That's where the flooding came from. The water couldn't go anywhere, but it came up out of the manhole covers. Now, I bought the property 35 years ago, and for 15 years, that's the flooding we had. Maybe we get a couple of inches. But with the addition of all these new bulkheads, the water now flows in from the river through the entrance to the Root Canal. And the Baloo side has higher bulkheads, probably due to the fill that was put in when they originally brought that property in there. The east side there are no bulkheads. I happen to be on the low end. The water flows out of that Root Canal, comes in my rolling doors in the back. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And I have to open the front door for it to go out. Not only my property, but 2 or 3 other properties. And this has been the 4th time that we've taken in 20 to 30 inches of water. And this, not only the flooding, I'm using my time up, but the inventory loss, 20,000, 50,000 T-shirts in a dumpster, electronics thrown outside, cleanup expense. And my question to everyone, especially those commissioners that do have part of that section in their area. Does anybody care? It's the poor section of town. Okay? We get caught up with the nice section of town. All right, the next thing you know, I heard Mayor Henry talk about going to pave that road. Paving a road makes it look nice.
Thank you.
It doesn't help the flooding, okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is John Nicholson, and on deck is Sharon Cohey.
Well, it's not just paving the road, though. Where's your brother going? You gonna go give him a-
John Nicholson, 413 North Grandview Avenue. Mayor, I looked at that amount for the gala differently than you did. I saw it as almost $250,000, and $250,000 sounds a lot to me. Secondly, you did mention that over 400 people have now new lives. That's what it was all about. 400 people that were on our streets are no longer there. It's fantastic. Redistricting. Talked to staff at the meeting 2 weeks ago. They're talking about using the 2020 numbers. And he's anticipating that Margaritaville is going to be built, and that there'll be 500 people, 584 people in Margaritaville in the next 10 years. I'm sorry, that doesn't compute. There are people already in Margaritaville. There are 4,000 homes, probably 6,000 people. And he's anticipating 584 people or homes. When we redistrict, how are we going to redistrict? Are we going to use the 2020 figures or the 2023 figures? I'm saying that when we do zones, why do a zone that's going to be out, the county 1%. I'm anticipating whatever zone goes into where Margaritaville will eventually go, and my Mosaic will eventually be built, and the apartments will eventually be built, we're going to have thousands of people out. So that zone will be out of compliance, not 1%, not the maximum 10%, but 40 or 50 or 60% out of compliance. To start with that doesn't make sense. So I'm asking you to look at the numbers from 2023 and not the numbers from 2020. Secondly, we need to look at 50 years ago, we created zones across the river. Gerrymandering was acceptable 50 years ago. The nation doesn't accept gerrymandering any longer. The state doesn't accept gerrymandering any longer. The county does not accept gerrymandering any longer. But I'm told we must accept gerrymandering in the city of Daytona Beach because that's the way it's always been. So we have to keep it. Secondly, if you looked at the maps, he said the minority community was kept together, except it was divided into 4 different commissioners. That, to me, is not keeping the minority community together, which is supposed to be the nation, the states, the counties, and the city's goal. We need to look at this. Thank you.
Actually, Mr. Nicholson, just to let you know, they are, when they're redistricting, they are looking at the stuff that's been approved that hasn't been built yet. And actually, by law, I believe they can only go by the 2020 census. Am I correct on that? Thank you.
That's what they have to use.
Our next speaker is Sharon Cohey, and on deck is Tanya Ray.
Hello, my name is Sharon Cole. I live at 725 North Peninsula Drive. And if I had a beautiful voice like those young people behind me, I'd be singing the blues. Our neighborhood is acquiring another sober home. And we're all in a uproar over it. We're all upset. We already have one a block and a half away on Peninsula. We've been picketing, we've been getting signatures. The community doesn't want it. I moved here 2.5 years ago, and I bought a historic home, and I've been working on
Refurbishing.
Thank you. And can I catch my breath for a moment? Don't you laugh. And, but I put a lot of time and money in it. My husband passed away. I'm a single woman living here. And it's scary the thought of having that home 3 houses down from mine. I've already seen 3 of the clients that live there. And one of them is tattooed from head to toe, attitude. It's scary. I don't like it, and my neighbors don't like it, and the people in our community don't like it. I don't know why. I'm under the impression that Daytona Beach, we're trying to clean up the area, and this is not helping our neighborhood. We've already had 3 murders in the last year. It's just upsetting to us all. I don't know what can be done, but in a family neighborhood, you're gonna allow 16 to 22 men to live in one house in a family neighborhood? Just doesn't seem fair. We already have one. That's all I have to say. I hope you guys, you wouldn't want that next to where you live, I'm assuming. I understand that they need to go somewhere, but I think there's better areas than an area that's already known for partying and drugs. So, that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening.
Can I say something about that?
Yes.
Monday, Mark Hall, who's one of the people that are putting that house together, called me and said that basically what he said was their picketing is working, that it was taking about another 3 weeks for them to complete their renovations, and they were going to put that house on the market because they didn't want to have these problems with the neighborhood going forward. Now, that remains to be seen, but that's what I was told on the phone on Monday afternoon. So hopefully you won't have to deal with that once they put it on the market and sell it. Excuse me? We'll see. We'll see and see what happens with them. Would,
Go ahead.
Mr. Attorney, could you explain to them a little bit about what's going on with that and where the city stands as far as regulating?
No, I don't want to get into the facts of the particular case.
Okay.
I can tell you in general, sober homes, to use a general term, are treated as any other household unit would be under our code. They may be entitled to certain protections under the ADA, and that's something we'd have to look at on a case-by-case basis.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Our next speaker is Tanya Ray, and on deck is Patricia, is it Whitsit?
Hi, my name is Tanya Ray, and I live at 708 North Peninsula. I'm one of the people that was at the picket line. The reason that I'm passionate about this, and so are the constituents, the more than 120 constituents on this petition, the reason we're upset, and I know you can't speak on it, and I appreciate the fact that you're actually going over the Del Rey template on how to possibly appease everybody. With this sober living home, well, first, I was a drug and alcohol abuse counselor for 20 years, so this is not new to me. I've seen situations like this, homes like this, fail miserably, only because they were not regulated and they were not governed by an outside entity. This is the problem. When you have your self-government in the household, lots of things get swept under the rug, people are buddies. It's just the way that it happens. We have to be compassionate, and we really want to be compassionate. We want people to actually survive what they're going through and come through the other side and heal. We want that. We just want the security of our area back. Everything that my neighbor has said is true. There's been a lot of shady stuff going on there for weeks now. People are living there right now. And the situation is that particular house does not, I guess I should cut to the chase, that particular house is not the amount of feet within the regulation from the other house that we have down around on Oleander. So as a crow flies, it does not met that or meet that criteria. And I know that's something that someone's going to have to go out and measure. But we ourselves have measured it twice, and it falls short considerably of the 1,200-foot range. So that, I believe, will take care of that particular home. But the reason that people were so passionate about this is because it is the historical area. It does speak to the beginnings of Daytona Beach and what everyone loved about Daytona Beach and still do. I do want to thank everyone for their consideration on the template from Del Rey. I do want to thank all the commissioners who have shown up to the meetings for the Seabreeze District. As we are passionate, we are proud. We would like to see everyone coexist nicely and actually have a program with the sober living that benefits these people, because there's an 85% failure rate. The first week, there are going to be people rotating out. It's going to happen. The 18 people 18 to 22, will soon be 100 within a year. And that is not an inflated story. That's the realistic portions of this that we need to know. It's not 18 faces like an Airbnb where people will come and go. But
Thank you.
here's our paperwork, and I hope you will look at it for consideration.
You can give it to the assistant.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Patricia Whitsitt, and on deck is Frederick Brown.
I have nothing further to add. What my neighbor said, I don't believe this is a good place for these people to be placed.
Come on,
Ma'am,
come
you
on,
guys
come
will
on
come
up.
up
2 to 3 blocks from strip clubs and bars. We don't think it's going to rehabilitate
Your
anyone.
name and your address.
Patricia Whitsitt, 717 North Peninsula.
Yes, ma'am.
And I just want to add that if you draw a straight line from 900 Oleander to 725 North Peninsula Drive, it falls about 400 feet short.
Okay.
So those aren't exact figures, but it's short. So if you go around all the different blocks, I'm sure you can make it longer. But if you draw a straight line, it does not qualify, does not meet the rules.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Frederick Brown, and on deck is Sharon Hawkins.
Frederick Brown, 1508 Crescent Ridge. I want to open with some accolades to Miss Betty Goodman. What a phenomenal city employee you have. Not only is she holding together the Mayor's Fitness Challenge, which Mr. Mayor and Mr. City Manager, we miss you. I know you're busy, but we do miss you. But she's also doing an outstanding job with the Citizens Academy. What an excellent program, and as I understand from talking to her, that was her idea. Boy, we need to expand that, and Betty deserves a lot of accolades for that. So anyway, I have a lot of things to cover, only 3 minutes to do it. I did want to mention that. First thing, Bridgeport Height fences in the park, they need to be replaced to protect the citizens from the attack dog on the north side of the property, and also to preserve the park area. Number 2, lighting. I'll give you a more in-depth report on this with some actual study numbers and some information, technical information that you need to address, Mr. Manager, in particular. Daytona Beach has got to be one of the darkest cities I have ever seen in my life, and I've been in cities all over the world. And Daytona Beach just does not have lighting up to par. And part of that is FP&L, flamboozled, I think, the city, but it needs to be addressed. There are standards that need to be, it has to do with the number of lumens from an engineering standpoint. I'll give you that more information on that later. I also am concerned about the wording of the Esplanade on the north side, and they charge $80 a year to use the pet park on the north side there. And I think that's kind of deplorable considering it is city property. I know you did sign a lease, but they do say it's privately held. So I do disagree with the wording there. I will review your contract legally and see if that's in line. Okay, and finally, the last thing I want to spend the majority of my time on is going to be flooding. Number 1 issue in Daytona should be, you should be living and breathing this every day. And I have brought up the Dutch answer. Again, I know one commissioner has seen it. I don't know if any others have. If you had, please let me know. Okay? And I will tell you that Henk Ovink, also Harvard graduate And as much as the Robert Young has some pretty good credentials, I read his material. He's a great guy, but Henk is he's like up here when it comes to flooding. He is the world ambassador from the Netherlands, the first and only. He's spoken to the United Nations. He's spoken to the city of New Orleans, okay, after Katrina. He has spoken to all the cities up in New Jersey. He has an active program going in North Jersey after Sandy, which is quite successful. You'll learn all that if you just watch the videos that I sent you. I sent you the contact information. We need to get Henk here. City needs it, and we need it now. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Sharon Hawkins, and on deck is Irvin White.
Hello, everyone. I'm going to need a little help on this situation, Mr. Ken, someone. It's about Bite Week. I know we extended Bite Week down to, we thought it was Adams Street. So Fulton Street, I'm finding out that tonight. But what opportunity for the people on the west side do they have to participate? Because no one was contacted on how to get on the master plan. And this is new for the West End. So right now, they can't do anything because they're not on the master plan. The only people on the master plan is Ms. Turner, Ms. Herb, and I know you got two on the agenda that just added themselves. How can we get these business owners to participate in activities outside for Bite Week coming? Because you did extend it, but no one was notified. I mean, I spoke with no one has been notified to come down, get on the master plan. So we're trying to figure this out, and I'm speaking for a lot of them. So that's my question. How do we open this up, get them on this so they can participate on Bite Week? You did extend it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, please. It needs to be.
Jim,
I didn't
can
hear.
you answer her question?
We're just trying to figure out, no one was notified of how to get on the master plan for Bite Week on the extension west side, even the new ones on
Are you
the
talking
east
about
side.
MMB?
MMB, yes. And,
MLK to Fulton.
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
So, well, MMB, there absolutely was. The commission had a commission meeting and extended it.
But she's saying business owners were
No, ma'am, the chamber advertises all of that. We don't do individual notice. It's publicly noticed. I know that Sharon was at a workshop where this stuff was discussed as far as the things that are on the master plan. And let me draw a little distinction for you, because the master plan area is an area that's mapped on Main Street and on MMB. There is no master plan area down MLK.
Okay, so let me interrupt and say, then how can those businesses have an opportunity like what we extended this evening to Mrs. Hayes and to Mr. McDormand?
Yes, ma'am. So they timely apply for the events, and we've had that. It's been on the city's newsletter and the chamber's websites and so on. And I know that Sharon and Irvin missed it, but from the perspective of what we should have done on our side, we've done everything that we know how to do. We've also had, when you're not in the master plan map area, you can apply for special event treatment, and you all have approved those two as part of the master plan. So sequence-wise, I won't take long to say this. We've got a cutoff date for application. The chamber takes those in, they're processed, they come to you after they've been processed through, and you approve those. And in this year, in this particular one, Sharon and Irvin missed it. Why they missed it, I don't know, but from the standpoint of the notice and so on that we give as a city and the chamber, it's, let me just finish it and you can have a turn.
My quick question.
So,
if they wanted to apply to be in the master plan, could they apply and bring it forward just like any other?
there is no master plan map area for
if they
some of their
wanted to
properties.
do something on MMB. The commissioners outside of the master plan.
It would be a special event permit, and they could do that. Yes, they could. And they have done that in the past. And only if the commission waives it. I talked to Sharon, well, we talked outside, she and I exchanged phone calls. I said the only way this can happen now is if the commission waives the deadline, which, y'all looked at a couple. The ones you approved tonight were formerly SAMA members, and ordinarily Ms. Himes would have taken care of that. SAMA had gotten the notices, and that's kind of the aftermath of SAMA having a collective control of quite a bit of property. And there's individual property owners that can apply, and they've chosen to do that because they're not paying SAMA fees, they're doing it on their own, which is better for them money-wise. We also brought, as staff and as a commission, you approved the extension of the master plan area down to Fulton Street, which Irvin and Sharon have property in that vicinity. You also connected the master plan map area where it terminated, and I can't remember the streets, but it terminated, I think, at the FEC. And I don't remember the street on the side, but you connected all of that all the way to US 1, to the east side of US 1, so that you'd have full coverage on MMB for people that previously had been left out or did business with special event permits. It's a question of meeting the deadline, submitting the material, and we bring it forward. And the commission has the opportunity to approve. This evening, procedurally, I think the only way that they are able to move forward is you waive the deadline for them, and there will be other people that probably want that too. But as for this particular request, and we will process it and get it through.
Now, as new,
No, Sharon, come back to the mic.
as this is new, so they wouldn't know about, I mean, it's like a magic show. You just should know. They didn't know. And a lot don't want to participate because you did extend it. I mean, we need to spread it out anyway. It's so crowded in that one little spot. Give their, the visitors more travel area, more, that. We just
I'm
need
open
that.
to this, but are you saying that they need to individually bring a,
What I'm saying is that they've missed the deadline.
we got all that, Jim.
Yes,
Get
ma'am.
straight to the point on what do they need to do?
They need to ask the commission to waive the deadline and allow them to be processed for this particular bike week. We'll have to take their plan and process it. It may be the same as what they've previously done, but Ms. Sheridan was at the workshops, so,
But she's speaking on behalf of others who were not.
okay.
So-
I thought it was only on her behalf.
Exactly.
So,
No, they're not here. I'm here for them. Well, they do, but, I mean, I took the initiative.
so, so
My point.
Mayor and Commission, if you authorize it, we will get it done, and that's the name of what we do.
I'll make a motion to waive the deadline. I'll make a motion to waive the deadline.
All right, you got a motion to waive the
Second.
deadline.
Just a point of order.
Wait.
Hold it.
No.
Are you intending to waive the deadline indefinitely, or would you like to waive it for a period of time? So that there's another deadline established.
Let me just say this.
There may be some limitations for
It
property.
is so short in time. If you would simply allow them to submit a process, and we'll process it and get it done for this bike week. I don't know that you can fairly pick a deadline, given the fact that it starts, I think, March 3rd, and people to get their paperwork in and so on. We're going to be just busting it up. Y'all don't have another meeting until March 2nd.
Right, this is 2 weeks before.
So the event actually starts the next day, in terms of the formal timing of it.
Well-
But commission approves it, we'll do what you direct. That's all there is to it.
We'll need to bring those back for the next meeting for approval. even though
We
it's so
would.
close to
That
the
is
event.
correct.
Yeah.
I would like to hear from Rose as well.
Okay.
Good evening, Rose Askew, a Growth Management and Planning Project Manager. The property that we're speaking in reference to has been participating in Bike Week. They were one of the properties that does RV parking through SAMA. We literally had a workshop. I walked 2nd Avenue, or MMB, the entire street, and gave out flyers and had discussions with every single property owner that was available to speak with me. We left flyers. We left our business cards so that everybody could contact us. We had a meeting here at City Hall down in 149B where all of the people from MMB, once we extended the boundary, participated. We went through the application process. The chamber was there, as well as the Convention and Visitors Bureau for Biketoberfest. As a result of that, the number of applicants on MMB increased tremendously. They were all there for Biketoberfest, and they've also applied for MMB. I've also had conversations with Ms. Hawkins regarding our process and how you have to apply. I don't know why they didn't apply during the deadline, but I can tell you that we did inform everybody. They all had the opportunity to participate. No one left them out. In addition to the chamber having the application on their website, the city provides that to Susan Sorbonne, and she even has it on our website for them to be able to go to the link to participate. So we provided all of the information, but it's literally up to the applicants to pay attention to the deadline and apply and meet the criteria.
Okay.
So we have a
My
motion.
thing is, if they don't know
Ms.
about the
Hawkins.
deadline.
Ms. Hawkins,
Yes,
we're gonna give you an option,
okay.
and then we're gonna be done with this, but next year, we're not
Oh.
gonna go through this.
I appreciate that. Yeah,
That's simple.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Do I have a motion? And I have a second, then we need to get some clarification.
So as I understand what Mr. Morris is saying, our effective deadline will be the next commission meeting.
The second.
We'll have it ready for you on the 2nd. We'll inform anybody that we know about the agenda deadline so we can try to
We make it March 1st, so we have a
March,
deadline.
the clerk is saying March 1st in order for it to be processed and on your agenda. We're trying to give as much time as we can, and Commission, you just tell us if that's okay with you. We will get it done. I know Trish's office, I'm sorry, we'll do the best we can.
You will have something on the agenda for March 1st, whoever wants.
March 2nd.
No, it's March 1st.
The meeting is the first.
Oh, March 1st is the date. I had it wrong. I apologize.
And so, you know, the agendas go out.
The meeting is March 1st?
Yes.
Okay, so, well, you can always just attach it to the end of
Okay.
the meeting.
So they will be walk-on items is what it amounts
Yeah.
to.
I don't like it personally, but we want to be accommodating, and we want to understand that we made some changes, and we want people to have an opportunity. But this is not the way we're going to do business in the future. Okay?
Further public comment?
All right, we'll entertain public comment. We have a motion, right?
We do have a
and
motion
second.
from Commissioner
Do we have
Strickland.
any speakers? Anyone who
You
wishes
want
to
to
speak?
speak, Mr. Bitteroff? You can. Yes, ma'am. Okay. My name is William Bittorf. I don't live there. I live at 402 East ISP. And one, I appreciate you standing up and you standing up originally for the people, because we need you guys right now. We've had the COVID, especially down there, and a lot of people, they just don't pay attention. They're just trying to pay their bills. So you know what? I can tell you, you'll always have my support because you're for the people, just not for, you know, everybody else that they come up with these conspiracy theories. So I really greatly appreciate all of you, and thank you for standing up, especially Paula when she was, so let's get to the point and let's get it done. So, and as for, I just greatly appreciate you. Bye.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0.
Okay. Our next speaker is Irvin White, and on deck is Marjorie Johnson.
Irvin White, 340 Garden Street, Daytona Beach. I don't know, the motion y'all just made might cover my RV parking, because I do have 2 RV parking spaces that I've been running over 14 years. Property that I bought just to park my customers when they come into town, driving their RVs, and for some reason, I always been on the master plan, but something jumped off last year, and I didn't know my name was on there this year. So it's not that I overlooked anything, and they had a meeting down here a couple of weeks ago for the RV parking on unpaid parking lots on the grass, and that's what I thought it was talking about, but it wasn't. And I wasn't at the meeting, but I had someone there for me to let me know what was going on. So that's what I was wondering, whether they canceling all the unpaid parking spaces or what they're gonna do. But if you back week going on, anywhere from Walker Street down to Walnut Street, any of those vacant lots back there is full of RVs. And the only someone have a permit is me.
You're right. They are full of
So I apologize, I missed it, and I'm asking y'all mercy to let me call my customers and tell them that they could come and park.
Mr. Mayor, my understanding of the motion from the commission is for us to address all these sort of things, including Mr. White's issue, and we will do precisely that. And he and I work together a lot. We can certainly do that.
Okay, thank you. I know.
Our next speaker is Marjorie Johnson, and on deck is William Bittorf.
Marjorie Johnson, 122 South East Street. I'd like to thank you all for accommodating them. They didn't have the information, so they should be accommodated so they can participate in the Bike Week, and they can also make funds. I'm here tonight to talk again about the flooding problem here in the city of Daytona Beach. And I would like to see the city of Daytona Beach take the responsibility of fixing this flooding problem. This should be your #1 priority. Residents are complaining to me, and they came before the city commission and complaining. I'd like to thank Mr. Frederick for the excellent plan that he came up with. I think that you all should listen and take heed and try to fix this problem, because we lost a lot in this flood and people are still suffering. I also would like to address the fact that there's still a lot of lawsuits on this agenda. Every meeting I come to, I see these numerous lawsuits and litigations against the city of Daytona Beach. This seems to be an ongoing situation that's been going on for many years, months, and it needs to be corrected. We don't need all these lawsuits, and I'd like to see them stopped or something done about it. And I also am concerned about the street on Bethune-Cookman University. That street is in deplorable condition. And I've came to this podium before and addressed that. You would not have that street looking like that in front of the International Speedway. And so something needs to be done about it. Dr. Larry Drake was at our Women Advisory Board. We had a big fundraiser there on Monday. He was there, and he's doing a fine job of correcting the errors that's been going on and the negative publicity. So I would like to say that you need to get up there and fix that street, all those bumps and cracks in that road. It doesn't look good. You wouldn't have that happening in front of the Speedway, so Bethune-Cookman is pouring a lot of money into this economy, and it needs to be fixed. Also, I would like to see this commission donate and participate in the Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune Children's Choir. These young people are going to Carnegie Hall to represent the city of Daytona Beach. And you have Bike Week funds that you can use to help them. I was at a previous meeting when you, Mayor Hendry, raised a lot of money for the people to go, mainland to go where they want. So let's help these young people go to Carnegie Hall. Thank you.
Okay. Our next speaker is William Bitteroff, and on deck is Ann Ruby.
Well, here I am again. Sorry about earlier, I got a little emotional because I know how hard it is to make a living, and it's nice that you all stood up for the people. But most importantly, the other thing I was going to talk about is a lot of people don't know about me, and I help people with opioid addictions. And, you know, we lose upwards of around 100,000 people a year. So I think there's a way it can be done. I know a lot of people maybe not do their houses right. I've tried to help thousands of people, and I've lost most of them. But that 10%, 25% that I save is worth that dedication to our kids. And I've been inspired by educators like yourself, Mr. Mayor, to help people and educate people. I'm not as educated as you are because you're a pretty good teacher, but I've been able to help quite a few people. So I just say if we do things with the sober living houses, let's just think on how we do it. Maybe we put them in a zone. Maybe we put something there, something different, because maybe it doesn't belong there, but maybe it belongs somewhere else, and we could probably figure that out. It's just a simple deduction of figuring out where they should be or where they shouldn't be. On the other end, I have no complaints. I love the city. You guys are doing a great job. You know, gentlemen and ladies, I couldn't do what you all do. I go to meetings and I see Paula Reed going everywhere, and Monica Paris and Ken Strickland and you and the city manager. You're going above and beyond your jobs because they don't realize how many hours you really put in, any of you, you know. And thank you. Good night.
Our next speaker is Ann Ruby.
Hi, Ann Ruby, 137 Park Avenue. On the redistricting numbers, when the guy got up here, what was his name, Al Hill, I think, and he was talking about how he did include anticipating population growth. Now, those numbers that he provided at a very rolled up level were developed block by block, census block by census block. I would expect that in the background of those rolled up numbers, he has a formula where he has anticipated numbers block by block. And blocks are rolled up into block groups are rolled up into tracts, and I think it would be useful for everybody to know which blocks he used, assigned to which zones, and what anticipated population growth he had in each block. Because that way, it would help John answer his questions, but it would also let you know exactly how it was done. And I think that's useful information, and I would hope that he could be asked to provide it, because it should be relatively simple. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that was our final speaker, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, before we say goodnight, we've had a very heated basketball season. And we are undefeated going into the tournament. The city manager's team has had one defeat. And we both play tomorrow night in the semifinals. If we're fortunate enough to win, we will meet each other on Friday at 5:30. And the city manager is anxiously hoping that we win. Because if we don't win, I still have bragging rights. But either way, we are excited about what the young people are doing, and we're going to have a end of the year banquet where the young people will be able to bring their families, and we will celebrate them. And there goes that. You all are great.
Tomorrow, Mainland High School boys play in the regional, I think.
Mainland's girls played last night, and right? Was it Tuesday? And they won, right? Mainland's girls won last night. Mainland's boys played Thursday night in the regionals, and it would do my heart so much goodness. You all think I was happy about football? Nothing beats Buccaneer basketball on this earth. All right. Good night.